Thank you for joining us for this SeeUnity webinar on enterprise mobility. Today's session is talking about our mobile application, SeeUnity Mobile, and our success story with the International Monetary Fund. I am very fortunate to be joined today by Mr. Hervé Torp, who is the Advanced Technology Team Leader at the IMF, and he'll be discussing their project with us. So just a few notes of housekeeping. Last week I discussed strategies for enterprise mobility. You can go to our Facebook page and find a link to a recorded YouTube of that presentation if you're interested in that. Next week we'll be doing a preview of a new alternative way of taking your enterprise content mobile with an app called SeeUnity Slices. And just a reminder, attendees that qualify who attend these sessions are going to be entered for a chance to win an iPad 3, and we'll be announcing the winner on our Facebook page. So today we'll be doing a quick demo of some of the key features of SeeUnity Mobile. We'll be doing that live so you can take a look at the look and feel of the application. And then I'll be turning things over to Hervé, and he'll discuss the IMF's project and how they approached how to create a winning strategy for taking their enterprise content mobile. Just a recap, I talked a lot about statistics on the growth of tablets and devices last week. Probably one of the most telling is just in the iPad alone in the workplace, analysts estimate about $10 billion is going to be spent this year. ECM data is really a natural fit. We already know that email, calendaring, that type of information is the tools of the knowledge worker, and enterprise content data is really just a natural fit there. And again, some of the considerations, we want to be mindful that we aren't alienating our users. We have to keep content secure. We need to be mindful of the true cost of an enterprise mobile rollout, and we need to understand the usability that one size doesn't fit all for every organization and every user type. So let's talk about SeeUnity Mobile. That is our application that works as an ECM client for tablets and smartphones. We currently support the iPad and iPhone device. We currently support the iPad and iPhone devices, and we're working on support for Android devices as well. In terms of repository support, we have support for eDocs as well as SharePoint, and we're working on additional platform support as well. Now, our primary goals here are to empower users by giving them as much enterprise content management client functionality as possible, while balancing that with the ability to keep data secure and extend your existing standards and practices out onto a mobile device. So in terms of ECM functionality, what we're talking about really is searching and browsing, the ability to find the content that you need, and the ability to access it, and with the understanding that the natural limitations of devices make them more suitable for consuming content rather than creating it. We certainly do enable users to edit and create content, but we're also mindful of the fact that as of today, where devices are right now, they're really not optimized for long-term, high-volume production of content. We also introduced the ability to tag and download content so that you can carve out a space of your enterprise content in a way that's a little more accessible to you using the device in terms of creating shortcuts to content that exist outside of just the standalone enterprise content system. So I'm going to shift gears here, and I'll be firing up my iPad here and doing a quick demo that will show some of that functionality. So you should all be able to see my iPad now. Please let me know in the chat window if you're not able to see it. So right now we should be looking at the desktop of my iPad. We can see a few apps here, including SeeUnity Mobile. So let's go in and open that up. From here we can see on the left-hand side we've got a number of repositories here. These include 2 eDocs libraries as well as a SharePoint server that's got a number of sites available here. You'll see that there's the filter and sorting, so we can organize the way we're looking at content. So I mentioned searching and browsing as key ways of finding content similar to what you might see on a desktop, but optimized for the iPad experience. So we can dig in here and start viewing content here. So we can see we have the ability to sort by different factors, including name, when it was modified, the type of content. Now we can go in and browse for content. We can also go in and search here. So let's do a search for, I think the last one was, okay, so that's the same search that I had before. But here, anything that is related to Acme comes up. We can actually sort by relevance when we're doing the sorting for search results. In addition, we can do an advanced search where we'll actually be loading up native profile search forms, and that actually embeds the native profile searching. So what's also important to note here is when we're going into a repository, we're embedding as many of the native objects as possible. So this includes dynamic views. So these are some of the dynamic views that are associated with this library. We're including workspaces. We also have favorites, and I mentioned that before. That's a way you can tag content. So if you know you're going to go ahead and use it quite frequently, you can just tag that. You can tag different objects. So you can tag an entire library. You can tag folders, individual documents. And as you can see, there's a star. There's a star around this folder so that I know if I want to go back and take a look at it. Let's go in and open an actual document here. So we can actually go in and view the document in SeeUnity Mobile. We can take a look at the metadata for that document. So that's great for consuming content. I mentioned you can actually edit and create, and we have easy integration here. And in addition to editing, you can send your documents via email. You can send a reference that might be a DRF or HTML link. You can go into version histories. Let's try open with. And here, because we're using a demo server, we have the minimal level of security set here. You can actually go in and configure and prevent people from opening content in third-party applications if that's your choice. So let's use QuickOffice. As I mentioned, we integrate with just about any compatible third-party content editing application. I happen to prefer QuickOffice HD. It's got a pretty slick integration. So we can go in, just make quick line item changes we want, and we can actually record and make notations here. So I don't want to mess with this document too much. Let's save the document. We'll save back the document. At this point, we can go in and do some version control here, determine if we want to make a new version, do subversions, replace the current document. We'll just make a new version. So if we go in, this is the same document. We've made our changes, and we should be able to see that we actually edited the document. We have that recorded here, 10/24. That's today. So it's actually recording that we've edited the document, and it's showing the changes that we've made. So very quickly, I could take a demo and take a full 60 minutes showing all the different features, but this is a high-level view. I hope that I've shown very quickly the ability to go in and navigate through the interface to go look at a large amount of content, the ability to access that content, to view it for consumption, or if you want to go in and edit and create content, we can do that by easily integrating to third-party applications. Now I'm going to switch gears back and turn things over to Hervé, who's going to speak about the International Monetary Fund's project with SeeUnity.
Thank you, Brent. So my name is Hervé Tourp, and I'm working at the IMF as the Chief Innovation Officer. So I will go ahead and assume that most of you know the International Monetary Fund. We're dealing with 188 countries. We have over 3,000 people, mostly economists, people working at the IMF. And technically speaking, we are an open text eDoc shop. We use MS SharePoint 2007. We're actually migrating literally this week in 2010. And we are using SeeUnity in several ways, mostly to integrate our eDocs to SharePoint. So, Brad, if you want to go to the next slide. Typically, an economist at the IMF is a person that travels a lot. I think any given day we've got several hundred people traveling, especially in poor countries where connectivity is an issue. Now, the second thing that defines pretty well an economist is that an economist is a person that spends a lot of time looking for documents, reading documents, and updating, reviewing documents. So really, documents is really, I mean, right after email is the thing they're doing the most during the day. And because they're spending so much time in airports and in places where connection is an issue, we were looking for a solution that could accommodate their typical life. So if you go to the next slide, starting a couple of years ago when iPad was introduced, actually, we immediately had an amazing interest from the economists for this device, which we were ready for because we have an advanced technology group that was preparing for that. We anticipated that it would be a success. So, in fact, they were able to connect to their email and calendar and contact on day one, the same day they were able to buy an iPad. So that made actually the iPad pretty successful, and we have a third of our population now having an iPad, and some of them are traveling just with an iPad now, even without a laptop, which is a quite amazing change. So because they already had access to email, the next things they wanted naturally was documents. So that was our next focus of attention. How can we produce access to documents, especially since we knew that there was a big appetite for that because we were observing that they were uploading on the iPad documents on third-party applications that we were not necessarily comfortable with them using. You know, typically, I guarantee you, your iPad users are today using Goodreader and Dropbox. It doesn't matter if you tell them not to; they are using it. So we obviously had to do something about that. Now, the challenges that we face, like anybody else, is how do you secure an iPad? You know, we're really talking about very sensitive information there. And so the iPad is not an Android. That's the good news. It's not as unsecure as an Android. But still, we needed to first, before we could provide any solution for document management, we needed to secure the device itself. So we deployed an MDM solution. It's mobile iron in our case. There are many others over there. We have SSL VPN to allow the iPad to connect to internal content. So that's the first point. Right, and our goal was definitely, if we had to provide an application for documents, it had to be as delightful as any other iPad application. It should not be anything like we produce typically, those cumbersome applications that require some training. We did not want that. We decided to really do something as easy to use as possible. And it has to be as secure as the technology could allow us. So that those were our two requirements: secure and delightful. Well, besides, we have already, as anybody else, some strategy internally about how we handle documents. So we did not want to copy those documents in yet another system. It had to leverage our eDocs strategy or strategy to store everything in eDocs and or SharePoint. Now, that's also kind of the complexity of any document management strategy, is that you are usually dealing with more than one repository for your official documents. So we needed a solution that was not tightly coupled to any of those. Out there, you've got applications such as SharePlus, for example, that gives you access to SharePoint libraries, that is too tightly coupled to SharePoint. We also had seen some solution that can leverage eDocs documents, but yet again, they are too tightly coupled to eDocs. We did not like that. So if you go to the next slide, Brent, we went through an extensive study of what the market could offer to us, and we found out actually there was nothing that would satisfy our needs. Even though you will find some applications that do connect to your document management systems, none of them was either secure enough, either loosely coupled to the backend system, or secure or delightful for the end users. So when we started talking with SeeUnity, it was interesting because they had that on their plan. They had been thinking a lot about producing an iPad application. So it seems like because we had a great relationship with them, we were impressed in the past in their capacity to deliver something that was really fitting our needs perfectly and in short cycles. We decided to go ahead and give it a try. And as a matter of fact, shortly after we decided to give it a try, I'm talking about 6 weeks max, they had produced a prototype of their first iPad application, which was quite impressive. Go ahead on the next slide, Brian. Right, so the way we worked together was quite effective. We adopted an agile methodology by which we would meet each week. We would actually produce some feedback to SeeUnity, and literally the week after that, we would have a new version of the application to test that we would submit to some key users. You should know that all users are pretty demanding as far as their documents are concerned. Because they're spending so much time dealing with documents, they are very demanding. There are many things that they want to do. And our security folks, friends, are also very demanding as far as what should be expected to a security point of view in terms of tracking who does what with that document, in terms of not allowing some applications to some documents to be opened, or the way the documents would be encrypted and stored on the iPad was really a big issue for us. So we managed to produce, SeeUnity managed to produce something that fitted our needs in less than probably 2.5 months. We had a version that was satisfying pretty much everyone. So we continued working this way towards a version that would be even better. Case in point, for example, when we realized how much time people were spending on the plane and the poor connectivity in those poor countries, we worked on an offline version of the document. So Brand did not demonstrate that, but the same way you could mark a document as favorite, you could also mark it for download on the iPad. So after you lose connection, you can still browse the document and read it on your iPad. So that's fundamental to our users, and that's a huge success because they don't have that even with the eDocs version internally. Right. Oh, the concept of dynamic folder is quite interesting. I don't want you to miss that. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it has enormous potential. The dynamic folder is a capacity to, from the backend point of view on the server side, to reach out to other systems than your eDoc solution. Say you've got a PeopleSoft, SAP, or any database that, for example, store the list of your clients, your active cases, what's not. I'm not very familiar with your particular businesses, but for example, you could have a folder, a dynamic folder that is just named My Active Cases. So what it does when the user touches that folder, it goes on the database that contains the list of your current or active clients or customers, pull that data and matches that to your documents in EDMS or in your eDocs, and returns those documents based on those on this data. So the sky is pretty much the limit with that, to retrieve only a certain collection of documents by crossing data from another database. I think we've just started to scratch the surface of the potential of that thing. Right. So if you want to go to the next slide. So the end result so far, a few months after deploying that to our economists, is, I would say, quite amazing. I mean, we are really pleasing the users. The feedback we're receiving is pretty good. You may have heard that we conducted recently with the World Bank the annual meetings in Tokyo. That was 2 weeks ago. Well, for the first time, we've got a lot of economists that went there without printing anything, just trusting that SeeUnity application would just have all the documents they needed. We don't see as many people, or in fact, recently we haven't seen anyone using unsecured application on the iPads. So that's a huge progress to a security point of view. In fact, the best feedback we receive is when people are asking, okay, that's fantastic, when can I have this application on my PC? So that's not something we will provide, but that's kind of the feedback that shows you that the iPad SeeUnity application is even better as far as experience is concerned than what they're seeing on their PC. So that's the best feedback we can have. We're also actually seeing the SeeUnity application driving a better adoption of eDocs, because now they know they have a delightful way to access those documents as opposed to the PC way, which is not as delightful. We're seeing people starting to use eDocs because of the iPad, so that's also quite an interesting result. And the way also they now use folders and work with the assistants to have documents classified correctly in folders also seems to be improving day by day, because they understand now they can browse folders in an easier way than they do on the PC, so they start to like those features better. The offline capability also, we're receiving a lot of feedback, and I think we're talking with SeeUnity about going even further as far as offline access of documents. So this is the result as of today. We still have to deploy that to a few departments, but it's very encouraging what we're seeing so far with the SeeUnity applications. Go to the next slide. I think I still may have one more. No, maybe just one more point. We're happy to see how flexible SeeUnity folks were as far as providing a customized version of SeeUnity. So when on users actually use the application, they see an icon that is customized to the IMF. They see help documents. When they open the application, there's some help documents that open for them the first time that are also customized for the IMF, which tells them actually what phone numbers to call if they have a problem. So that was also interesting to that point of view, to have an IMF customized version of the applications. Back to you, Brent.
Oh, thank you very much, Hervé. Very lucky to have you on the call today to talk about the project. So hopefully that gives everyone sort of a sense of a very important real-world organization with sensitive data and a very globally dispersed team of knowledge workers that really saw the opportunity and, frankly, potential risks of linking your enterprise content to a mobile device and liberating it in that way. and the way that they were able to manage and control and optimize those opportunities while minimizing the risks that are associated with that. So thanks very much for sharing that story with us. In terms of next steps for those of you on the call who are in a similar situation to where the IMF was some time back, what we would recommend is that you start building your requirements and understanding what the risks and rewards are and balance your requirements according to those. Not everyone is going to have the same exact type of challenges that the IMF had in regards to the sensitivity of the information, how the information needs to be used. So you need to build your own requirements. And if you're working with a services provider that's helping you with your technology, I would connect with them early. I would encourage you to look at all options on the market. Hervé mentioned, they did an extensive review of applications that are available. One of the advantages with mobile applications is that they're often priced optimized, particularly on the individual content editing applications, and that there's free trials for just about all applications, so that you really it behooves you to go and do your due diligence and look at everything that's on the market. And then talk to your users. Hervé mentioned multiple times this idea that you need to interface and create a pleasing experience for them. You really need to look at them as your customers, because if you don't, you alienate them, they can certainly turn around and use an application that they find preferable. So it's important to give them something that they want to use and would be their first choice to use. So thanks everybody for attending. What I would encourage you to do after this session is to go ahead and like us on our Facebook page. We'll be doing our iPad drawing after next week's session there. You can also find a link to last week's session linked in through YouTube. I would go to iTunes and take a look at the trial version of SeeUnity Mobile. It's fully functioning. The only limitation is that you're locked down to our demo servers and data, but anything that you can do with SeeUnity Mobile, you can do with the trial version. The only thing that's turned off are some of the security features to make it easier for you to go ahead and connect to that content. And finally, what I would encourage everyone on the call to do that is considering a mobile application is to do what the IMF did and start interfacing with your application vendors. And that's not just for an application like ours. That could be your content editing applications. Contact the developers of those applications. The market isn't yet mature, and I know speaking on behalf of SeeUnity, we welcome that customer input. We believe it helps make stronger products for the market. That's good for our customers. It's good for us. And to that effect, we're still holding some closed session focus groups with representatives from engaged customers on ways that we can improve the product. And I will say that, for the industry in general, that's sort of a closing window. As these products start to mature, there won't be that flexibility that's there now. So definitely strike while the iron is hot. So thank you very much for your time. We've run over by a couple of minutes. If there's any questions, feel free to go ahead and use the question pane, and we can answer those here. We have a great resource here in Hervé to answer questions about what the IMF went through, if there are any roadblocks or speed bumps or any type of relatable advice that you might be concerned about. He can answer that for you here. If something strikes you afterwards, here are both of our emails. If you'd like to email me about any questions about the product, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. If you'd like to talk to Hervé in confidence about their experience with us or with going mobile, feel free to contact him directly. And again, we'll be doing our drawing after the third session. And I would remind everybody that next week on Halloween, we'll be previewing our slices and looking at some customer solutions with early adopters around that. So I'll leave it open for questions for a couple more minutes, and if not, then we'll just conclude the session. While we're waiting to see if there are any questions, Hervé, could you talk a little bit about how you actually deploy the application out to the user's iPads?
Yes, absolutely. So if you're using the public version of SeeUnity, it's actually very easy because it's a free application and you just instruct people how to download it from the App Store. By the way, Brent, I see you mentioned iTunes. I suppose the less misleading term is App Store because you do not need iTunes for that. So that's the easiest way. If you have a customized version or if you want to keep control of who downloads what on the iPad, then you need to have an iPad enterprise application store. So at the IMF, we have an enterprise applications store where we show people what applications we recommend to use, or if it's a custom application such as SeeUnity, that's the only place where they can find it. So again, we're using Mobile Iron for our enterprise app store, which makes it very easy for people to download. So if there's an update, that's where they will see this little red icon that says there is one update, say for the SeeUnity or any other application that we would put there.
Great, thank you for clarifying that for us. So I don't see that there are any questions. I would just ask you if you think of any questions or you have feedback for us, to go ahead and send us an email. As there aren't any questions right now, thank you, everybody, for your time, and thank you to everybody who joined us on this session today. And please like us on Facebook so that you can find out more about the drawing, look at last week's session, and please join us next week when we talk about slices. Thanks again for your time, and have a great day. That concludes our session today.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.